can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat Sleep Boxing Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. I'm delighted to be joined by Elliot Grigg, which means we are, of course, in preview mode. This time, we're at the Popper Bosch, as they like to call it, as Johnny Fisher is in action in a rematch with Dave Allen, a big heavyweight contest happening on Saturday, May 17th at the Copper Box Arena in London. As always, I'm going to give you a brief preview or thoughts on the fight and discuss a couple of maybe a few topics of interest as well around surrounding the fight. But first and foremost, Elliot, what are your thoughts here? The rematch between Johnny Fisher, Dave Allen. Give me some thoughts on your prediction. Now we're just a few days away.
Thanks for that eloquent introduction as always, Paul. I think my thoughts on this are credit to Johnny Fisher for taking it first and foremost. I think the first fight was difficult for him, let's say the least. When it comes to that, I think it's a challenge that having kind of whatever you make of the decision, having been awarded the decision, you can sit there and go, could he just ride off into the sunset necessarily, or maybe take a few lesser opponents for a little time being, come back, build that way, get the confidence back, etc. So I think I would probably have advised him to do that, frankly. I think credit where credit's due, though, he's taken this fight on. Predictions-wise is so tough for me, man. Like, predictions-wise, I think you look at where Johnny Fisher is, like, as a kind of asset, where his stock is, like a young guy. They're looking to obviously promote. He's got a lot of, like, a big following, maybe trying to send him through the ranks. It just seems like it would make no business sense for Dave Allen to win this. And I think that's kind of what we saw in the first fight. Even though we had allegedly, some people had Dave Allen winning, myself included. So you sort of saw it then, really, where the kind of money and the kind of backing is going. So that makes the prediction really, really tough for me, because I feel like if it's a close fight again, will they give it to Fisher again? I kind of feel like Dave Allen is still the better fighter, much more seasoned than Johnny Fisher. Johnny Fisher's been obviously blowing guys out of the way, but like, how many rounds has he had really? How good have those guys been? But at the same time, he's a massive lump. So there's technically, he could, if he doesn't get hurt in the same way that he got hurt in the first fight, could he punch holes in Dave Allen? We've seen Dave Allen hurt before. We've seen Allen, who's not motivated, come into the ring before. It makes it, to be honest, there's so many kind of external threads and kind of like context I'll probably have to take a look at before we get into this. But we've not spoken about this before, obviously, coming onto this video. So I think we might potentially differ, but I don't know. But I've just got a feeling that Johnny Fisher's going to get this done somehow, some way. I really do. I feel like Dave Allen is the better fighter, but I just still feel like I've got a suspicion that Johnny Fisher may actually stop him. And that seems wild. I know that seems wild. I know your eyes are on your head's on Mars, your eyes are on stalks there, but I've just got a suspicion that, and I can understand why. I fully understand why, but intuitively, I've just got a sense that I'll have to see both men obviously on the scales, but I've just got a suspicion that Johnny Fisher's going to turn up maybe a bit more motivated, maybe not get hurt in the same way, and maybe use his size and possibly hurt Dave Allen in this fight.
Wow, very, very interesting. Very interesting. Wasn't actually expecting that, because I know you and I have discussed it before, and maybe as the dust has settled on it, I think straight in the aftermath, quite a lot of people were like, "Oh, Johnny Fisher doesn't need that rematch because he will lose." But now it's maybe a few months on, I can see obviously that you've maybe changed back to Mr. Bosch. So yeah, I obviously I think not the I know I I'm going to say not to blow my own trumpet here, but I mean he didn't actually get the win, so it's not really like I'm blowing my own trumpet. But I was one of very few people, I believe, that backed Dave Allen to win that first fight. Obviously that big fifth round, the knockdown, whatever. I think, see, this is the problem with Dave Allen, is it's a big if, and there's so many ifs when you're talking about him. If he was fitter the first time, would he have got Johnny Fisher out of there? Perhaps. I think he probably would have. So if he is fitter this time, I still think he can hurt Johnny Fisher. So he's very cute in what he does, Dave Allen. He can disguise things quite well. And yeah, we're going completely the opposite, mate. We're not even going, same fighter, or even maybe just swaying decision, whatever. You're going Johnny Fisher KO. I'm going Dave Allen KO, mate. He's going to be fitter.
Oh, baby, we are divided.
He's going to be fitter. He's going to be stronger. I think he'll know that in his head. Do you know what? I let him off the hook last time. I think he'll drag him into his fight again, Johnny Fisher. Yeah, this time, well, I'd say Dave Allen will know himself, right, I can't let this go to the cards, because he will get the decision. if it is close, and it probably is going to be close because let's be honest, Dave Allen's going to lose rounds. He does, but I think he's going to get Johnny Fisher out of there this time. In another classic, another humdinger, and maybe low on skill, but on heart and grit and all of the above. I think it's going to be another potentially really, really fun fight to watch. So yeah, I'm going with Dave Allen stoppage. We've kind of talked a little bit at length there about our predictions, longer than we probably should have. So just quickly, kind of rolling two questions into the one. I think you've already answered it. Who do you actually do think won the first fight in your eyes? And following on from that, if you want to kind of, well, Dave Allen's obviously closer to the end of his career than Johnny Fisher is. But if you're looking at Johnny Fisher as the younger fighter and you're predicting him to win, where do you see his ceiling going forward?
It's a tough one, tough one. Yeah, I think obviously for me, Dave Allen won the first fight. Frankly, I thought it was fairly convincing actually. For me, well, he was. I mean, like, was it convincing? Obviously, I think maybe like a 6-4 would have been fair. So, I think that's. But I think I can't really, or even a draw. But I don't think a Fisher win didn't really sit very well. To be perfectly honest with you, I think Dave Allen did win that fight and can feel aggrieved because he should feel aggrieved. But again, where the money goes, etc., the judges tend to follow. So I think where does Fisher's ceiling? This is a tough question for me because I feel like we've had some lads at the outlet who have got really carried away with Johnny Fisher previously. I think McKendry's had him as, sort of lineal all-time heavyweight great by the age of sort of 32, but he's still only sort of 26. So I still feel like, and we're talking about, I alluded to his CV earlier, blasting kind of guys out that aren't that great in the sort of early sort of second round, first round. Not sure how much he's really learning from those sort of fights either. So like in many ways, maybe this sort of fight brings him on if he can come through it. But I feel like you can definitely win a British title for me. I look at like David Adeline, all those sort of names around that sort of British level that for me, I think he could beat those sort of guys. I suppose the question for me is, I look at someone say like Fabio Wardley that obviously was British and now is obviously moving beyond that. Do I see someone like Johnny Fisher beating someone like Fabio Wardley and making like a sort of similar step towards like an interim title at world level? To be honest with you, I don't at the moment. I really don't. I think he's a massive guy. I think he obviously hits hard. But I think as we saw in that first fight with Dave Allen, there's not too much movement there. And once he does get hurt, don't get me wrong, he showed tremendous guts, tremendous heart to sort of stay on there. But he didn't, a lot of the kind of nous that I suppose you need, which maybe you'd learn obviously when you do get hurt, was kind of lacking at the moment. So there's sort of developmental steps that would need to happen. But I almost feel like I don't think he wins a world title. Don't think he wins a world title by any stretch of the imagination. And could he get a European? Possibly, but I don't think. I think British title is probably sort of limit of Johnny Fisher. But I do expect him to probably fight beyond that, just because I think there's so much money and backing kind of on him at the moment. I can see him being kind of served up to someone for sort of an interim title somewhere in probably the next couple of years.
Yep, well said, mate. Well said. I think I agree with what you said. I think Dave Allen won the first fight. Don't think it was difficult to score. I think Johnny Fisher won basically a good few of the early rounds. And as soon as Dave Allen knocked him down, he won the stretch. I think it was quite easy to score. I think it was 6-4 Dave Allen as well. And in terms of Fisher's ceiling, British title, I think it would be a great achievement for Johnny Fisher. I definitely think he could win a British title. And maybe not at his first attempt. He's still young. If it took him 4 attempts to win it, I still think he could. He is a young man, and I believe that winning the British title, I mean, it's such an achievement, and I think that would be an amazing achievement for Johnny Fisher for sure. So yeah, that's where my head's at with it as well. But guys, let us know in the comments your thoughts on this fight, this big rematch between Johnny Fisher and Dave Allen. Hit that subscribe button if you're not doing so already. All of your boxing needs under one roof, and we'll speak to you again next week when Elliot and I will be back with more previews. Cheers, mate.
Thank you very much, guys, and as always, thank you very much for watching.